My warmest greetings to all of you at the Bicol University Jmrigd Institute of Governance and Development. In your 6th year, allow me to extend once again our family's sincerest thanks for all the work that you do. You help us keep his memory alive. But more importantly, you uphold good governance and the kind of leadership he always aspired for: empathetic, empowering, ethical. Your institution is a home for the hopes of our nation. Throughout his years in office, Jesse was always aware of his true purpose as the keeper of the public's trust. That he was there not to lord over others, nor to take advantage of the many privileges of power. He lived as a servant leader through and through, with a keen eye on the people's most pressing needs, a listening ear that lent him compassion, and the kind of relentlessness drove his eagerness to make sure that progress is felt by all. Many have said time and again that Jesse was one of a kind. In many instances, I tend to agree. But over time, given my own experiences as a public servant, I have come to realize that he did not have to stay one of his own kind, that there have been other servant leaders alongside him, whether in elected positions or toiling as part of the bureaucracy, and that there are more who have chosen to follow such an example, to uphold the values, work ethic, determination, and heart that he shared through the way he lived and served. As an institution, this is the role you have embraced: to hone the guardians of our government and our nation, to ensure that more of them lead with empathy, to teach them to channel their passions into building not only their own strength, but those of their communities and the people they serve. This is difficult, back-breaking work, but absolutely necessary in our quest to make Bicol and the Philippines a truly inclusive and empowered nation. On behalf of my and Jesse's daughters and our entire family, Diyos mabalo sa Indo for taking this challenge to heart. May you have a fruitful celebration. Mabuhay po kamugabos.
Okay, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat kay Sheila sa napakagandang introduction sa akin. Una po sa lahat, nais kong batiin ang Bicol University GCM Robredo Institute of Governance and Development. Happy 6th anniversary. Congratulations po. We really look up to you and to everything that you are doing, especially to promote good governance in our country. Hindi po biro yung ginagawa ninyo, ginagawa natin sa pagsulong sa mabuting pag-gobyerno sa ating bansa, lalo na't ang daming problema, at karamihan sa mga problema natin, hindi lang naman yung nakikita natin sa balita, hindi lang naman yung madalas mapag-usapan, kundi ang totoo niyan, yun na lang yung mga, kumbaga, yun na lang yung fruits kumbaga, yung ugat, yan yung mga institutionalized, deeply rooted problems. These are, it's a part of our culture, the issues and things like corruption, talagang deeply rooted. So hindi biro yung ginagawa natin. Whether you're in the academe or you're a practitioner in government, such as myself, we're local government, we have people in national government, kanya-kanya tayong papel, kanya-kanya tayong trabaho, but hopefully we will continue working together. I was giving 10 to 15 minutes to speak, which is, I guess, a very short time to talk about good governance. So, hindi po masyadong detalyado ang aking kundi mas more of konting kwento lang kung okay lang po sa inyo at pagbati again sa 6th anniversary po ninyo. Inaanyayahan ko po ang bawat isa na magbukas ng video para makita ko naman ng mga magaganda at pogi ninyong mga muka. Kung okay lang naman po at kung komportable po kayo. Actually, pag Zoom, talagang rene-request ko lagi na mag-on ng video para at least pag medyo inaantok na kayo at pumipikit na yung mga mata ninyo, pwede kong lakasan yung boses ko para magising po kayo ulit. Ayan. Bukas, maraming salamat po. I first entered government maybe 2012 or 2013, just like many of you, young, idealistic, entered to government, ang unang sumalubong sa akin, well, alam naman po siguro natin, yung mga problema, nakita yung corruption, na totoo pala yung sinasabi na corruption. At hindi lang pala kung ano yung sinasabi, mas malala pa pala kaysa dun sa sinasabi. Na, yung totoo pala na may mga kickback pag sa mga government project at tawag pa nga nila Standard Operating Procedure, SOP. Yung standard, hindi yung tamang proseso, hindi yung standard, yung lagayan o yung kickback. And these are the realities. And after 2 years in government, after my first job, I took a step back. I resigned, and luckily, I worked for a civil society organization, Government Watch and Political Democracy and Reforms. And I feel that really changed my perspective. And more than changing my perspective, it gave me the tools, it gave me the grounding that I needed in order to be an advocate of good governance later on in my career. And I sincerely feel that if I had not had that opportunity to work with civil society, work with government monitoring groups, work with even people from your institution is named after former Secretary and Mayor Jesse Robredo. I worked with a lot of people who worked with him. They taught me about people's participation in governance, one of the pillars of good governance. They taught me about the People's Council and how to do government monitoring, and procurement and projects, etc. Again, we don't have time to be too detailed, but I feel that this really help to ground me and to give me the necessary tools and experience. So, ang ibig ko lang po sabihin, yung credit dito, hindi sa akin. Yes, syempre, I believe in myself and I believe that kahit papano may nagagawa akong maganda, hindi man perfecto. But I think maybe sometimes people give me too much credit. Kasi kung ano yung produkto na nakikita na ako yun ngayon, hindi yan dahil sa galing ko lang. Hindi yan galing sa talino ko lang. And in my 10 or so years working in government, the Vice President Leni earlier mentioned, even maraming magagaling sa gobyerno, maraming mga tapat sa gobyerno. Hindi lang yun yung naha-highlight, pero ako marami na ako nakatrabaho na yung iba tahimik lang, yung iba behind the scenes, appointed, elected, gaya nga ng sabi kanina, iba-ibang posisyon, iba-ibang opisina, maraming matitino. And even with not necessarily in government itself, mga NGO workers working with government, engaging government from civil society, even students from the academe, maraming maayos sa ating bansa, maraming advocates, and not just advocates, but people who practice the tenets of good governance. But but you know what? I always say this, especially when I talk to young people. I see we have a lot of students here with us today. I always say this: yung nakikita ko sa experience ko, 10 plus years, I've seen a lot of good people. I've also seen a lot of evil people or corrupt people. But the bulk of people that I've worked with and that I've seen, that I've experienced and witnessed, hindi siya actually dun sa extremes eh. And even people that I see who maybe sometimes doing the wrong thing or minsan may mga practices na questionable. Alam yung pinakamalungkot na, for me personally, and you can agree or disagree, but for me, the saddest thing that I've seen in government, hindi nga yung corruption mismo eh. Hindi yung masamang practice. Nakakagalit yun, gusto natin baguhin yun, pero hindi yun yung pinakamalungkot. That's not the saddest thing for me. The saddest thing for me that I've witnessed is when people with good intentions, good motives, mababait na tao, they enter government or government work. Good people, honest people, they enter government and they do the wrong thing anyway. I've had friends, without mentioning any names, people I've known since I was a kid. Yung iba, sabi ko, without mentioning names, kunyari na lang, Tom yung pangalan niya. Nakita ko si Tom kasi nandito sa tabi ko. And kunyari si Tom, isang kaibigan ko, kababata ko. Alam ko, mas mabait yan sa akin eh. Nung bata kami, mas mabait yan eh. Mas mataas grades niyan. Mabuting ama, mabuting anak, mabuting kapatid, mabuting kaibigan. Pero nung pumasok sa gobyerno, tumatanggap ng SOP. Nung pumasok sa gobyerno, nagluluto rin ng bidding, hindi maayos na procurement. In other words, engage with corrupt practices. So, minsan napapaisip ako, ba't ganun? Mababait na tao, maayos na tao, ano kaya yung pagkakaiba? Kasi meron din naman na throughout their careers, talagang maayos. So, naisip ko, ano yung difference? And again, 10 years of experience, maybe not the most. There, even here in this Zoom meeting, a lot of people here have more experience than I have. But what I've really seen, the difference between those with people with good intentions, the difference between those who stay in the right path, quote unquote, and those na medyo lumihis o nagkamali or eventually do corrupt things anyway, nakakain ng sistema, in other words. The difference is three main things, well, two main things. Una, yung mga tao na nanatili sa tamang landas, people who stayed in the right path, they were prepared before they entered the battle. Ibig sabihin, bago tumalon sa dagat, sa gitna ng dagat, nag-aral muna paano lumangoy. Pangalawa, so naghanda. Pangalawa, and yung experience, yung preparation na yan, theoretical, academic, but also gaining good experience, getting the right experience. Just like what I mentioned earlier with my work with civil society, that was really a big thing for me and it changed how kung di ko nagawa yun, malamang naging corrupt din ako. I think that's true. So getting the right experience, being prepared, number one. Number two is realizing that we can't do this by ourselves. Kahit anong galing mo, kahit anong talino mo, kahit gaano ka kahanda, kung ikaw lang mag-isa ang lalaban, kakainin ka pa rin ng sistema. And that's something that I remind myself all the time. Na kahit sabihin, ako, believe ako sa sarili ko, magaling ako, talino ako, pero kung ako lang mag-isa to, hindi ko kakayanin to. Kakainin ako ng sistema. Kasi mas malaki yun kesa sa akin. So I need people with me. I need people who will ground me. I need people who will keep me humble. I need people who will keep me accountable. One of the most important things. People who will tell me, "Uy, Vico, di ba dati na pag-usapan natin, hindi natin gagawin yan pag pumasok tayo sa gobyerno?" I need people who will remind me of those things. I need people who will keep me grounded, keep me accountable. People with the same or at least similar principles, values, and beliefs. And if we do that, I believe in those three: being prepared and being grounded, having that network of people who will ground you. I strongly believe that as especially I'm talking to the students right now, yung mga estudyante po natin, I believe that you're in the right direction. As students of the Institute of Good Governance and Development, I believe that you're in the right direction, and I hope that we as future government workers, again, not everyone's going to work in government. The journey ahead is hard. If we are serious about pushing for good governance, if we are serious for a better future for our country, strengthening institutions of transparency, participation, accountability in governance, it's going to start with us. It's going to start with us being prepared, making sure that we have the right network of people, that we will stay grounded no matter what position we end up in, whether it's in the private sector, public sector. And my favorite analogy is that of a giant wheel. Kasi very frustrating. Kahit anong opisinang pasukan ninyo sa gobyerno, you will be frustrated at one point. Whether it's LGU or GOCC or kahit private sector, it's going to be very frustrating. It will be very, very frustrating. But if we keep that end vision in mind, we keep, we keep grounded. My favorite analogy, and I'll end with this thought, is like a giant wheel. Yung giant wheel, nasa 8th floor ako ng gusali ngayon. Sa 8th floor po ako ng City Hall, dito, opisina ko. Imagine there's a giant wheel that's 8 stories big. Ganun kalaki, kasing laki ng City Hall namin yung giant wheel. Kung mag-isa ka lang and you start pushing, that wheel is not going to move. If we want to effect change and we're by ourselves, no matter how good, how strong, how smart you are, nothing is going to happen. But you start moving the giant wheel, maybe someone will join you, or maybe you will join someone else. You start to think of strategies. Dapat dito i-apply yung pressure. Maybe we can add a pulley here or a lever here. You start to strategize. Hindi bara-bara, but strategizing. Maybe that wheel eventually will move 1 inch. Frustrating pa rin kasi grabe, nagpakapagod ka na, 1 inch lang yung ginalaw, kailangan dun mo siya dalhin. But it starts to move 1 inch, and when it starts to move 1 inch, people say, ay, posible pala. Akala namin, 30 years na kami nagtatrabaho dito, akala namin, di na talaga pwede magpakilala ng pagbabago dito. Pero napagalaw nyo ng 1 inch. Sige nga, subukan natin. And maybe more people will join you. Maybe there will be an engineer who will join you, will introduce a better strategy. Na, oy, sige, ito gawin natin. And eventually, it will start to move a little bit, a little bit, a little bit faster, a little bit faster, a little bit faster, until such a time that the wheel already reaches enough momentum, it gains enough momentum that it starts to roll. Yung changes na gusto nating makita sa bayan natin, yan na, nakikita na natin unti-unti. Babagal, pero yan, bumibilis na, bumibilis na. And it will actually reach a point that that giant wheel is moving so fast that it will become the opposite. If you try to stop it, you won't be able to stop it anymore because it has enough momentum. And you might even be crushed if you try to stop that giant wheel from moving. And so wherever we are in our advocacy, pushing for good governance, nasan man tayo sa laban na ito, hindi magiging madali. It will many times it will feel that that wheel is not moving. Bakit ganun? Lahat ginawa ko na, hindi pa rin umaandar. Wala naman nangyayari. But let's just keep doing it. Let's just keep being prepared. Let's keep studying, keep gaining more experience, keep networking with people, keep aligning ourselves with people, the same principles, values, and beliefs. And eventually, we will see a Philippines. We will see a country. Makikita natin na ang bayan natin, ang normal na, hindi yung corruption, kung hindi good governance. Again, to the Bicol University, Jesse M. Robredo, Institute of Good Governance and Development, to all your school officials, teachers, faculty and staff, to your students, congratulations. Happy 6th anniversary. Let's continue to push for good governance together. Maraming salamat po.